So I guess you're just a field archaeologist. Are you working in a kind of commercial company at the moment then?
Yeah, I studied archaeology at the University of Winchester, and that led me to loads of excavations prior to my application and while at university and since. And then it's archaeology has led me into the heritage sector. So I work for historic royal palaces, based at Hampton Court Palace and also the Tower of London, Kensington Palace, Kew Palace, Banqueting House and Hillsborough Castle in Northern Ireland. And I work in the retail department in licensing. So products that are inspired by our interiors, our grounds, our landscapes, our collections. So the Royal Ceremonial Dress Collection and the collection of artifacts that we have around the palaces.
Okay, sounds really cool. So you said you started off digging little test pits when you were about 7 years old,
Yeah.
and
So
found a little Tudor tile or something like that.
yeah, so I live in Weybridge in Surrey in England,
Yeah.
and so we're just southwest of London, and so I live near Oatlands, which was Oatlands Palace, which was one of Henry VIII's palaces, which stayed in through the royal family until about Charles II, who gave it off to lords and ladies, and it just went into derelict since then. And when I was younger, I knew I wanted to be an archaeologist. I knew this is what I wanted to do. And at about 6, 7 years old, I started digging in the garden, as most kids do, I think, and found a Tudor tile. So I took that to my local museum, Elmbridge Museum, and they said that it was Tudor and it was probably taken from Oatlands Palace and the houses around from the Tudor settlement. So yeah, I was really excited. I don't actually have it anymore, but
Oh. So do you have more of like an interest in Tudor archaeology, or do you have a favorite or anything like that?
yeah, I have a lot of experience with Tudor archaeology actually. And so at Woking Palace was one of my first excavations, which is also in Surrey, just down the River Wey. And that was with Surrey Archaeological Society. And Oatlands Palace was a Woking Palace. Sorry, you said it there. It's down the River Wey, and it was run by Surrey Archaeological Society. And Woking Palace was the palace of Margaret Beaufort, who was Henry VIII's grandmother, so Henry VII's mother, and Henry VIII then inherited the manor and made it a palace. And it's a really unusual palace. There's not much left there still today. It's about a barn, and I was excavating in what was the foundations of the Great Kitchen. And around the palace is a double moat, which is really unusual for the time, partly because of the River Wey helped fortify the palace, but they dug another moat as well. And yeah, I was in the kitchens for that excavation and found a pig's jaw, so around this side of the jawline, which really showed the diet that they were eating there and how Henry VIII was entertaining. He would go around the country entertaining local courtiers, and they would be entertaining him as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, because I did read when you found the pig's jaw, and did you find anything like forks or spoons or anything like that, or was it mainly just like animal bones and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was mostly just remnants of food, really.
Yeah. With butcher
I
marks.
yeah, I honestly can't remember if there was.
That's all right.
I can't remember what else there was. I was literally like, it's like 10 years ago.
Oh right, okay.
So this is one of my first excavations. Yeah, in about 2011.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
But yeah, but we found loads of floor tiles, terracotta, and brickwork, which showed the evidence of the palace being there. And the stained glass windows, they believe, went to one of the local palaces, Sutton Palace.
Okay, sweet. So also after you were doing the stuff as a child, I've got up to the digging Surreys War. So could you tell me more about what you did there?
Of course. So during the Second World War, a lot of children in Britain were evacuated out of the city further into the countryside. And with Surrey Youth Development Service, I signed up for the Surrey County Archaeological Unit to do some archaeological training ready for my applications for university. And this was a archaeological excavation at Sayerscroft in Ewhurst in Surrey, which is now a weekend activity site for children and school children to go for trips. But during the Second World War, this was a site where boys from a school in London, Catford Central Boys School, as a group, they were all evacuated there during the war. And we were excavating what was their air raid shelters.
Yeah.
So this was one of my first excavations, and I gained a AQA qualification in basic archaeology, which if anyone can find anywhere where they do them, I would highly recommend it. It's a great stepping stone and a great way to try out if archaeology is for you.
Yeah.
So we were excavating the air raid shelters, and what I remember most is the big bricks, stone bricks of local stone used to build these shelters, and lots of them had graffiti on that we can only assume the boys wrote their names on with their pen knives, and I don't know, even their kitchen knives from their dinners. Yeah. And one of the names was recognised by the local staff at Sayerscroft, saying, "We know that name. We've met him," and he came back. So he would have been about 8 or 9 during the Second World War, and he came back the summer before in 2010 just to visit the site. I think he brought his grandchildren as well to show this is where he was during the war, and he had written in the visitors book. So the visitors book was pulled out, and we exactly matched his name and his handwriting completely the same when he was there during the war, and he must have been in his 80s. There is a mural in the Sayerscroft Dinner Hall, which is still the same hall. It's a listed building now, which I was there when I was a child during school as well. So I'd been there probably when I was about 9, and we'd all had dinner there. And I've seen the mural, and it's stunning. And the boys painted it during the war. And on the mural are 2 pictures of the 2 air raid shelters, so we could literally see where the trees were, and thought, right, this is exactly where they were, and we found them. So it was a brilliant achievement for the whole team.
Sounds really great. And you got an AQA qualification in basic archaeology whilst doing that. Could you tell me more of what that involved?
So during this excavation, it was a training week, and we learned loads of basic skills of archaeology, learned about stratigraphy, chronology, dendrochronology, and then put it into practice while on excavation as well. So every few hours we'd have a kind of run through of what we'd learned, how we had put that knowledge into practice. And so it was brilliant, and it was a great achievement to then have on my UCAS forms ready for university, and even now I get asked about it. So
because I did watch the video, but I couldn't spot you in the video.
But I was there, but I'm not in the video.
Because I think they did like the stairs of the shelter, I think, and then they found like a coin, like an old penny, I think.
Yeah,
it was quite
and
interesting.
a bullet as well, which is quite interesting.
So Woking Place was your palace, was your first excavation, then the digging in the Surreys War is the second excavation.
Yes, sorry, I've said that in the wrong order then.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So
yes,
I'm guessing with your first kind of excavation, you learnt a lot of, how to excavate. I mean, with Tudor archaeology, I guess it's quite different to just digging Roman or Iron Age.
Yes,
Because I
definitely.
mean, myself, I've never excavated Tudor archaeology before. I've mainly done Roman and Iron Age and stuff like
Okay.
that. So I have no idea how you would, excavate a Tudor kitchen. So what's the process of kind of excavating a kitchen of it, from the Tudor period?
Yes, so I was there maybe in the second or third week, so we all had different weeks that we came in.
Okay.
So the topsoil was already removed, and then they were getting gradually further down. So I arrived when the wall of the kitchen had been uncovered,
Okay.
which was brickwork, which is it was very classic of the time, and I think there was flintstone in there as well. Henry VIII obviously wanted to show off his wealth, and like Hampton Court Palace in Surrey as well, London, sorry. He built with red brickwork that was very fashionable of the time and very expensive. So it was a new building material. So we found brickwork and also stone from the previous owners of Woking Palace. And so I was in a section in the corner, which we were near a hearth as well. So some fellow colleagues had found a hearth, and so we knew this definitely was the kitchen because that was used for cooking. And once I'd found the pig skull, we knew that there would have been someone on the spit rotating the meat, which is a very laborious task. Someone is there for hours and hours, which just shows how expensive these meals were to be paying for the labor as well as the meat.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. So yeah, so you've done Woking Palace, and then so after this, was that the time when you went to do your BA in archaeology at Winchester University?
I started at the University of Winchester in September 2012, and I studied a BA archaeology. A few of my colleagues did joint courses as well. So I did straight archaeology, some did BSc archaeology, which was archaeological science, some did a joint honours with history, or others did journalism as well. So it was very interesting to see the avenues everyone was coming into, and in the last eight years where their careers have taken them as well. And so a lot of them have gone into commercial archaeology. A few of us have gone into the heritage sector, working in museums and heritage sites. So it's been really interesting seeing how my counterparts we're all in similar industries, but so different as well from doing the same course. So I studied in Winchester, which historically was the capital of England before London. So it's a very historic town. We've got the Roman wall that goes all the way around the Roman city. The city has grown since then. And then there's evidence of medieval history, and notably Alfred the Great, who revived Winchester in the 9th century.
Yeah.
Statue is at the end of the high street, which you can still see today. And he rebuilt the Saxon town and flourished it with a royal palace as well, which I love royal palaces. That's kind of my area. And yeah, during the degree, we had so many trips locally in seeing Winchester Castle, Winchester Cathedral, and we went up on the roof of Winchester Cathedral, which was stunning on a very, very nice October day, which was just fresh and lush, and we could see right out to the Isle of Wight. Okay. So Winchester, if anyone doesn't know, is in the south of England.
Yeah.
Just above Southampton, near the coastline. And we yeah, we had trips throughout England. We went to Oxford. We saw the Ashmolean Museum and the Pitt Rivers Museum.
It's a good museum.
And that's a brilliant one. And we went to London. We went to the British Museum, and a few others. I can't remember right now. Imperial War Museum.
I actually recently watched the Time Team episode on Winchester when they found the Roman fort.
Oh my god, yeah.
In someone's garden, you can still see it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's quite interesting actually how much archaeology and how much history is in Winchester with, was it Harold the Great?
Yes.
And obviously the Romans, and yeah, it's quite interesting actually.
Yeah. And to think it's today probably quite a small city, but 1,000 years ago, or just a bit longer, it was the capital of England, which not many people knew, but quite incredible to see how it's thrived and kept going. So yeah, Winchester then led us to excavations as well, through in England, in Winchester, and then another in Barbados and another in Germany.
Yes. So was it the Winchester Hospital? Is that the excavation you did?
Yes.
Yeah. So was that a medieval hospital?
Yes. So in my first summer after university, my whole class and other students in the second and third year as well, and PhD students, we all excavated the site of a leper hospital just outside Winchester, the Hospital of St Mary Magdalene, which was founded in 1180.
Okay.
It's on the Orrisford Road, just a mile outside of the city. And we all were a bit obviously nervous. We didn't know what to say. We'd had a year of our degree, and this was the first time properly picking up the trowel and getting out onto the site. So it was a month-long excavation that was absolutely fantastic. All our camaraderie and friendship, it just really clicked that summer. We all faced it through rain and shine, and yeah, we all had our kind of set sections for maybe a week on rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I excavated around, especially the kitchens again. So I seem to have a thing for food. And yeah, so I found what was the remains of a pot full of probably about 1,000 fish bones, like full fish.
Yeah.
Which was incredible. When I found it, I was saying, I can find the bones, but they're really tiny. What's going on? And cleared through the soil and found it was literally a pot, obviously in broken pieces, but yeah, full of bones. And we went through them and we just kept picking them out. Now I did work in the finds team every Wednesday during university, volunteering, cleaning, numbering, and protecting, conserving all the finds that were found throughout the Winchester excavations.
Okay.
I didn't see what happened to these bones.
Okay.
So I'm not sure where they are, but
they may have been sampled if there was a lot of them, that kind of thing. Yeah. Usually they pick it out, don't they, very slowly, and would sample it to kind of see what kind of fish they were eating, I guess. I'm not sure.
Exactly. So they would have used the bones to work out the diet of the I don't want to say lepers, but the inhabitants of the hospital. Yeah. Who most were suffering from leprosy. They used it to work out more information about the diets of those at the leper hospital. And some of my friends did find the area where bodies were buried, so properly lined up in their grave sites, and it's really interesting to see actual human bodies related as well.
That's awesome. So yeah, you said you did you went on some trips with the University of Winchester, and I think you said Barbados. So what did you do there? What kind of stuff did you excavate there?
Yeah, so in Barbados, this was also the summer between my first and second year at university, and I joined the Winchester University Excavation Project in Barbados in the Caribbean, which was fantastic. We were there in August of 2013, and this is one of my favorite excavations ever. I'm fascinated by the Caribbean culture, and we were excavating the history of Barbados from before European colonization of the Americas.
Yeah.
Barbados was inhabited by the indigenous people, which were the Arawaks and Caribs, which is the Caribs is kind of where the name Caribbean comes from.
Okay.
So the British history of Barbados as a colony starts in 1625, and Barbados became independent in 1966.
Okay.
And this was an interesting part of history to be learning about, excavating about. Obviously, we know about the slave trade, and I can't say I'm totally an expert on that area to discuss.
Yeah.
But I don't know how best to say it. But we were excavating pre-colonial and post-contact history of this absolutely gorgeous island. And marine archaeology and ethnography were particularly important for this excavation. We spent quite a few days doing marine surveys outside of just off the coast of Speightstown, which is in the northwest of Barbados. So a few years before, in the same project, some of our students had discovered, and then it was raised, a cannon just out to sea, which was part of the Denmark fort, which was just on the coastline of just on the coastline, just outside Speightstown, which I was then excavating as well. So the cannon was placed on a plinth by the local inhabitants, and recently, and to honour the history. And basically, Denmark Fort was the site of the English Civil War, of the only battle fought outside of England, which sounds really unusual. Why was the Civil War for England being fought in Barbados? But yeah, it was against the Royalists and the Cromwellians.
So, yeah, I think because
and the supporters of Cromwell. Yeah, it was a battle of the Royalists who wanted Charles II on the throne, which happened, and those supporters of Cromwell as well, who were fighting against them.
Yeah.
And that was fought just off the coastline and in Denmark Fort. So I was excavating a test pit at Denmark Fort, which was about a metre squared, and honestly thought that we would find very historic items. And I was excavating, suddenly found some white pottery, thinking, this is brilliant, what have we found? And very unusually, it was getting bigger and bigger, and then it was kind of a white bowl broken, and then a pipe in the middle, and then a metal handlebar on the side. And one of the guys who lived locally then was asking me what I was doing. He came over and I said, oh, I'm just excavating. He went, I remember that. We used to come here all the time when it was a hospital in the 70s, and it was the toilet from the 1970s. So yeah, we'd found some earlier archaeology than we had expected.
So another hospital as well.
Yeah, So after it was a fort, whether they still use the same building, I'm not sure. We weren't excavating there long enough to find out, but I know that friends of mine were there in the following few years as well. And so, yeah, Denmark Fort, the site, then became a hospital, which is long gone as well. And now there you can see the cannon on the plinth.
That's awesome. So was Hessen, is it how you say it, Hessen Archaeology Excavation, was that another trip then?
Yes. So then in October 2017, I excavated with Hessen Archaeology, which is the Federal State Archaeological Service of Hessen in Germany. And they have a link with the University of Winchester as well.
Okay.
And we were excavating an RAF 10 squadron Halifax, which crashed near Frankfurt in Germany. The RAF 10 squadron are now based at Brides Norton in England, and this is the home of air military operations. And they were actually the squadron that first flew the first RAF aircraft over Berlin during the Second World War, which included the Halifax B-11. And this particular Halifax bomber that we were excavating was shot down with her crew by German night fighters in the early hours of the 31st of March 1944. And this was during the infamous Nuremberg air raid, Nuremberg raid. And 4 of her 7 crew were killed in impact. 3 managed to survive through parachutes and were taken as prisoners of war, where they were found in the village of Steinum, which they were crashed into the forest just outside the village, and we stayed in Steinum.
Okay.
And we went into the forest each day, and we had our areas all marked out where we were excavating. Mostly we found bright yellow plastic, which was used for building the aircraft. And we found engine parts. I found very randomly, but a gorgeous knife about this big, which was actually ivory, had an ivory handle that was the design of a stag with antlers.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're not sure whether this came down with the plane, whether the team had this, but it looks very German. So it could have been dropped before or after. It was around the same stratigraphy, the same dating. So it might have been dropped by a farmer or a local man on walking through the woods anyway. So we're not too sure, but that was an interesting piece to the puzzle of this story. And during this excavation, I also did some metal detecting and found just away from the site a bit. We were trying to find if there was anything that had blown out as well. And I actually found it's an American badge, which we believe went on maybe the cap or the lapels or breastplate. No, yeah. Or the breastplate of an American soldier on their uniform. And I've got it here.
Oh.
Can you see that? Oh, gosh.
You can see like a horse with kind of a coat of arms, but with a little horse on top of 13 on it as well.
13, yes. And then just on the back, I don't know if you'll be able to read it.
No. Oh, no,
Made in USA.
Yeah, made in USA, I could see.
And then it says IRA green ink. And I've been trying to find out for years. I was allowed to keep it and take it home because it wasn't entirely relevant to what we were excavating. But they said, find out where it's from, do what you can, but it's mine, which was very sweet. And so I'm still trying to work out where it came from and if I can give it back to someone who would necessarily know.
Yeah.
I think it comes from Wisconsin in
Okay.
America, but I will have to look into that more. But I guess today is very poignant as it's Remembrance Sunday today
Yeah.
when we're filming. So yeah, we've just had our 11 o'clock silence, and we had a memorial service on the last day of the excavation at 11 o'clock at the site of the crash with RAF personnel and the mayor of Steinem and a mayor of Nuremberg as well, who came down to honour what we were doing. And during the excavation, we were joined by family members, descendants of the 7 men who were on board the aircraft at the time, 6 of which were British, and one of whom was Australian, and his family very kindly came to join us as well for the few weeks we were there. And two of the survivors had died previously in the 90s, and had a brilliant life since the war, and the stories we heard of all the men was just incredible and really heartwarming. During dinners, during our lunch together. And there were 2 men who were the sons of our last survivor, who was alive when we were excavating. And whenever I say it and think about it, I still can't believe it's true. But they were saying that their dad was in a care home during his last few months of his life, and while we were excavating, we'd heard from him saying, like, thank you so much for being there, thank you for honouring our team and what we went through. And at the exact moment that we started the memorial, my friends and I had looked around and noticed these 2 brothers who were in their 60s were not there. And we thought, oh God, we were at breakfast with them. And just before we were all leaving the village to walk into the forest, they'd got a phone call from the care home to say their dad's really deteriorating and did they want to give him a call. And exactly at 11 o'clock, when we sounded the last post, he died. I don't know how best to say that. He died. Sorry. And at 11 o'clock, when we sounded the last post, he died on the phone to his sons. And I believe that he knew we were honouring them and he was saying the last goodbye to his team. We were all there to really commemorate these seven brave men, as well as everyone else who gave their lives and fought and survived to tell the tale of the Second World War.
Yeah.
So today's quite a good day.
Yeah,
I often think about that.
Yeah. Because it's quite amazing how, archaeology, it's not just about digging holes. You get all these different types of experiences with people and stories, and you can get down to the real facts of what happened and of that time. But it's quite amazing, these things that you come across, as well as just doing archaeology.
Exactly.
And then you're a part of that as well. So
yeah, that was really a living piece of history that I was part of, like literally hearing about the whole story and from living memory as well. So it's quite incredible. And this summer I actually went to I went to Rougham Airfield in Suffolk for the day. It's quite near Bury St Edmunds, and I shared that story to a friend and his colleagues there. And even saying it, I probably hadn't said it out loud for about 3-4 years, and it just really hits me. But yes, that was an American base actually for the war.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I've only got the last few questions left. I think you've answered a couple more already.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, good. I'll repeat.
So yeah, I guess I've got two questions left. Is how would you recommend how you would get other people involved, or how they can get involved if they're interested in archaeology? Also, you found out when you were a child that you were interested, but say someone who's like my age, I'm 28, or maybe in their 20s, and they want to kind of get involved, what's the best way that you found is to get involved with archaeology and start a career?
Of course. So archaeology is accessible for everyone, I believe. If you've got an interest, if you necessarily don't have an interest, but you're intrigued about your local history or national history, I would really recommend volunteering. There's quite a few websites. There's a website called Dig Ventures, I think it
Okay.
is. And yeah, there's so many websites, even through your local council. So I found the Sayers-Croft and the Working Palace excavations through Surrey County Council,
Oh, okay.
where there's an archaeology section. So I'm sure there's a Buckinghamshire or Devon County Council or wherever nationally in England. And I'm sure there's equivalents in the States, Africa, America, South America, wherever there. I'm sure you can find online. There'll be local excavations that you can volunteer to be part of, and others as well. That I would definitely, recommend volunteering. Even volunteer through museums. You never know whether you have an interest in history that could lead to curating excavations. So, or even finds workshops as well, such as I did during university. If you're at university, they're great to volunteer with, and with your archaeology society too. But yeah, if you had a degree in anything else, or you went straight into to industry and want a change of career, if that's what you're looking at, I would definitely start volunteer at museums, and even see online on LinkedIn and other avenues of careers and what career path you could link into.
That's how I kind of started. I started in a
Yeah, how did you?
society
Yeah.
in Northampton. They did like a Roman villa, but they already completed that part of it, so I was a bit
Okay.
disappointed. But I was doing the kind of animal enclosures of the Roman villa. I haven't got a clue what I was doing, but I was just kind of just digging away.
Yeah.
And then I started like a portable museum. So I started collecting artifacts from probably the Neolithic to medieval stuff, kind of
Oh,
things like
wow.
coins and belt buckles and all that type of stuff. And then I would go to like local museums, schools, and retirement homes, and kind of do little presentations and it'll give kids more of a hands-on approach, to have a look at things and they can ask questions like. And then I managed to get, because I haven't been to university to get an archaeology degree, so I don't know
Yeah.
how I've managed to get into it. But I kind of did filmmaking at university,
Okay. Wow.
but it was more before the time I knew that I wanted to do archaeology kind of thing. I
Yeah.
found out how difficult it was for filmmaking jobs. But anyway, so I managed to get a job as an environmental scientist where you look
Oh,
at soil samples
yeah.
on from sites and stuff, and did that for about a year and a half, and it was quite interesting. I learned a lot of how to identify animal bones and certain seeds and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But so I did that for a year and a half, and I realized I actually wanted to be out in the field digging holes. So I
Mhm.
managed to like badger my way in, and this is with a commercial company.
Yeah.
And I was in the field for about a year and a half on this massive Roman site. It was mainly just kind of domestic or industrial type stuff because there was a lot of just ditches and gullies, and we did find quite a few cremations as well, which I wasn't
Wow.
allowed to touch because obviously I was only brand new.
Yeah.
And then I felt like I wasn't progressing very well, so I was recommended to another commercial company where I started off as a supervisor and started managing my own projects like evaluations and excavations. And so over the past year, I've been a supervisor, and I've done sites such as the seventh Roman vineyard in the UK. I've done
Mhm.
one of those,
Wow.
which is just basically loads of like little Roman furrows, with no
Yeah. Where was
gardens.
that?
That was in Bicester.
Bicester. Oh, cool.
Um,
Nice.
and then I've actually been to Chester, but along the Roman city walls. I've done kind of a watching brief there. And then I've done, there's a lot to, I mean, I didn't realise, but there's lots of Roman and Iron Age archaeology in Milton Keynes,
Yeah.
which I found out because my first site was an Iron Age settlement.
Mhm.
It was quite interesting. So that's how I've kind of got into archaeology. I mean, I didn't even think I'd be in archaeology when I was, doing my filmmaking stuff, but
Yeah.
I realised I had a passion for it and just kind of was motivated then to try and get a job in it, and I did. But
Yeah, great.
I wish I did do archaeology as a degree, but because then I could have gone on like some cool trips, like you've said you've been on and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
So that's
but
how I did it.
What area of filmmaking? Like that sounds incredible as well. Like, could you? Obviously now you're bringing that in.
Yeah.
Into this, but like, what genres is there? Have you got a path that could lead both together, other than like with Archaeology Times and everything?
Well, this is what I'm hoping, that I can merge my filmmaking with my passion for archaeology.
Definitely.
And I'm hoping to do kind of documentaries on excavations and kind of behind the scenes at some local museums.
Yeah.
I think the museum I've had an interest in is with the society I was with. They've got their own museum from all the finds they've got from the villa.
Okay.
I've actually been speaking to them, and they're happy for me to do like a little documentary with them because they want to kind of get their, I guess, their legacy of what they've done on film.
Definitely.
So I'm hoping to do that, and I've also helped in an excavation in Italy on this Roman child cemetery.
Yeah.
And I've asked already if I could do a documentary. Then he said, "Yeah, you just need to get permission from the mayor of the town." So I'm hoping to do that next year. Obviously, with the virus, I don't know. It might be the year after that. So I'm hoping to do a documentary on that. But I mean, usually, at university we did kind of everything. We did short films, documentaries, radio dramas, and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, what I'm actually interested in at the moment is doing documentaries and short videos and things like this and stuff like that. So that's how I'm kind of merging it together. And I mean, so then it kind of, because I do miss doing my filmmaking stuff. This is probably the first time in ages I've been thinking about it. But it's just basically getting the permission of doing documentaries and all that kind of stuff. So which is difficult.
Yeah, of course.
Because I do all the editing, the directing, and the filmmaking, so I have to all kind of do it all on my own. So it's a bit difficult. But I'm hoping eventually I'll get some decent documentaries and maybe get seen by like a TV program where they, I can maybe get a job with them or something.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I don't know yet. It's quite a brand new idea still. So
so I've been volunteering at Brooklands Museum, which is fantastic. I love it, and that's I wrote my dissertation about Brooklands as well. So about how is it a local site of national heritage and national interest, or is it a national site of local interest? Which I believe it's a bit of both, really. But it was the world's first purpose-built race course for motor racing, and also then motor cars, motorbikes, and bicycles as well, all raced. And what I find amazing is Hugh Locking was the guy who started it, and it was on his land, and he commissioned it and commissioned the work, and it was all built this huge racetrack by hand, but with horsepower and manpower. And his wife, actually, Ethel Locking, drove the first car around it on the first day that it opened in 1907. And so to think that a woman drove the first car on the first race course in the world, not many people know that, but I'm really interested in women's history as well as and getting those stories heard that people don't know. So that's really my passion.
Because I've never heard of that before, and that's it's quite interesting that those things need to be heard, and
exactly.
learned about, as well.
Yeah.
So
So yeah,
definitely
no.
important.
So yeah, I'll add that in. But yeah, so yeah, I'm back at Brooklyn's Museum, and yeah, absolutely love it there. So that's really great. But yeah.
So my last question really is, what do you think or hope you'll be doing in 10 years' time?
Okay, so in 10 years' time, um, I I absolutely love my career with historical palaces, and we have so many different licenses that companies that we work with, and I'd love to see that expand on a professional level with my professional career, but personally as well, I would love to get back into excavating again soon. And now with this whole lockdown and coronavirus, it's really, I think, shown me my priorities, and that I I can do, and we all can do, have a very flexible career career life and personal life, that I think we can all have like more than one careers or more than one job role all at the same time. That I think I would really like to expand on my archaeology again.
Hmm.
Having been watching, obviously, a lot of time at home, and watching more excavations and TV shows about Egypt, and I've been watching more about war, about the Second World War, the First World War, and the Tudors, everything. So I think really my passion is with the Tudors and with the wars, which I know are totally different. But yeah, there I would love to find out about more about them, and be uncovering more women's history as well. Yeah, that
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, having been around so many National Trust, English Heritage sites throughout this year, really finding out stories that haven't been told, whether they just because those different groups were marginalised throughout history, and now we're ready to open them up again. So, yeah, I'd like to share more knowledge about that, and well, find out the knowledge first as well, and then share it. Yeah. How about you?
oh, I don't have a clue.
That
um,
was kind of a waffly answer. Sorry.
I mean, I have enjoyed being a supervisor for this past year, but
Yeah.
I've had to deal with a lot of problems with, it seems in commercial archaeology there was a lot of problems with how people are treated,
Yeah.
and with this recent place I have been treated like absolute crap. So
Oh God!
uh,
Like, in what way? What?
dealing with racism and sexism and
Mm,
stuff like this, and it's been
yeah.
very, very bad. And even in the previous place I had to deal with sexism, um, and it just, you kind of get sick and tired of it, and you try and fight it, and complain the proper protocols that you're supposed to do, but nothing
Yeah.
still gets done about it, and you just feel like, what's the point?
Yeah.
So now I'm actually quitting this place, and I'll be
Okay.
joining a new place in on the 23rd of November. This Irish company,
Oh, cool.
that's expanding in near Buckingham,
Okay.
because obviously I'm local to Milton Keynes and Buckingham and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm going to see how that goes, and then if it's still the same, problem wise, I might trying to figure out what type of specialism I want to get into in archaeology, which is you. I mean, I'm quite interested in Roman food and cooking and stuff,
Yeah.
and just like pottery itself, like Roman pottery and stuff like that.
Brilliant.
Probably my favorite is the Roman period. I know it's very kind of, what's the word, um, overplayed or over, kind of thing. And there's tons of it, of things you can look into. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know. 10 years time, I'm hoping I'll be happy in a either commercial or just doing excavations whilst doing another job. So I do
Yeah.
love. It's just the excitement of finding things I find, and just learning all the time, because every day is different. I mean,
Yeah.
because obviously the Roman vineyard that I did, it's just there's no fines because it's just where people are growing stuff.
Yeah.
So all you can do is just excavate the little Roman furrows, and then the base is so like irregular because it was obviously just roots and stuff. And then you go to like a Roman site where it's just loads of ditches and there's tons of pottery. And I'd actually dug for the first time some cremations in summer in Milton Keynes, which is quite interesting. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, wow.
But because I was kind of getting sick and tired of working in commercial because of how way people get treated, and
Yeah.
I've seen people get treated the same as me, and it's just disheartening, and it kind of kills your passion after a while for archaeology. But then you're like, I'm not going to let that happen. It's not the archaeology, it's just the people in archaeology sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, commercial.
I have heard it's turned into a bit of a like old boys club that
Yeah,
you need to get with the times a bit more. And
yeah. I mean, this company seems to run like they're in the 1970s, and yeah, that's what it's just not working at all. So, but yeah, I mean, like you said, with the women's history, that's very important because you don't hear much about that. And like you said about the first woman who to drive on the first racetrack and stuff, I've never heard of that before. So
yeah,
it's definitely important. That these things need to be heard. So that's the end of the questions. So well, thank you for
brilliant.
joining
Thank you so
me.
much for your time. It's been lovely to meet you. And
Yeah.
yeah, if you like Tudor food, we've got the biggest kitchens at Hampton Court Palace. So when everything's up and running and I'm hopefully back, yeah, come down and I'll take you around for the day. That'll be really cool.
Definitely awesome. Well, thank you for that. And
you're welcome. Thank you.